Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 61 of the Talking with a Dad podcast. This evening, Steve, what do we got? What do you think? Looking at this, looking at the topic list, looking at the where we are. What do you think? What do you think? A good episode, bad episode, kind of down the middle? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I try not to think in terms of like that, but I think it's going to be some good topics to break into here because we just had a historic fight. I'm waiting to talk about that. Some more stuff that people didn't ask for in regards to gaming. Can't wait to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about a rich man's contract that will never pay me one red cent. So these are all things I'm into. I'm feeling pretty loosey goosey tonight. You know, something near and dear to my heart, right? Because we're going to be talking about a little bit fighting here. This is something I like to talk about. I like to talk about what it's like to actually get into a physical altercation. Okay. People talk about things all the time. You know, you hear people scream things, people say things. Generally, there's usually this psychological reaction, like I'm going to say this and hopefully it dissuades you from reacting to what I've said. But if I puff up enough, then you won't press me on that. The thing I love most about fighting is you get to see the realest form of that person. Okay. How they react in the fight is how they're going to react most times in any scenario, unless they're a loudmouth. And I think we got to see a lot of that this weekend in regards to fighting, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay. I'm pumped up as an MMA fan. We got a huge fight coming up this weekend. It's going to be absolutely amazing, or it's going to be a snore fest because it's two technical strikers, and I can't make sense of it in my head. I can't pronounce the other woman's name, but I can't pronounce her challenger, Holly Holmes. It's going to be a huge fight, man.
Actually, you can't pronounce her name. She doesn't have an S on the end of it.
Holmes. Holly Holm. Holmes. I hope.
There's no S. There's no S, dude.
I really hope Holly wins this fight, man. I keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about like everything that's happened to her in her career. But we'll get into that another time. What's been going on with you, Green Shirt?
Nothing, man.
Yeah,
nothing. We missed the show on Friday, which is okay. Life happens, right? I wasted a very, very good camera angle. Very good. Actually very sad about wasting that incredible camera angle. But yeah, that's it. Got back from house sitting yesterday, the day before, something like that, and everything's good.
Yeah, you look like you've been doing some hunting in a green area, like somewhere where you like.
I can count the times on one hand that I've been into the woods, my friend, and none of them have been hunting.
I can't. There's something different about you. There's something I either like or dislike a great deal, but it looks pretty cool. Where'd you get that shirt from, man? That is like a boss move.
I have no idea. If you think I know where I buy my clothes, you are
hold on for a second. I categorically reject the concept of you not knowing where you buy your clothes. Let's walk through it together. Was it digital? Was it a digital purchase, or did you go to a place?
It was in person.
Wait, where'd you go? Where was it? Was it outside?
Was that an H&M?
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Don't be ashamed of your purchases, man. I like H&M, dude.
I like the shirt.
I like going in there. I like the underservice from the people that work there. It's like, excuse me, I'm just looking for some. And they're like, and they kind of like disintegrate into the room.
I'm only here for the heroin. That's how I feel about people at H&M, dude. I don't know. I don't like any of them. I'd rather stay away from me more times than not.
You haven't been to an H&M in California.
No, I haven't.
it's the gold standard. I said hello to a person that behind the counter 3 times as she was ringing me up. I'm like, hello. And she didn't respond. I'm like, oh, okay. Hi, thank you very much. And she didn't respond again. I'm like, hello, bitch. I'm talking there. It looks good. I like the shirt though, man. I like it, man. Very I don't know, it fits you. Like you're gonna go solve some crimes. Like you're really gonna get knee deep. Like you should have a catchphrase or something like that.
I'm definitely never gonna solve any crimes. I'm definitely never gonna have a catchphrase. You know, I'm not gonna have a fucking bazinga. You know,
you gotta have a bazinga, man.
Absolutely not. There's very, very, very slim chance of that.
You know what? You could do it when you go to when you go to like funerals you're not invited to. You could just have a bazinga you say when people realize that you don't know anyone at the funeral, yet you've eaten up all the shrimp and deviled eggs at the little table. That would probably be more my maneuver. No, they're not, dude. Deviled eggs are amazing.
I've spoken about this many times. I don't like them for some reason. I know many people that do. I just don't, man. I can't fucking stand them.
What's not to like? An aborted egg?
Eggs.
Fetus?
Eggs. That's what's not to like.
Cut open, left open to the environment with mayonnaise on it, just collecting all the room temperature germs.
Yeah, exactly. That thought alone actually makes it even more disgusting.
Amazing. Man. Great fights this weekend, huh?
Fight card was very good. Very, very good. Even the main card itself was kind of not, there wasn't many fights on it, right? Like the only two fights I were concerned about on that were co-main and main. And sometimes that happens, right? There's sometimes that happens and sometimes they stack the cards. It turns out that flyweight fight, the Kai Kara France versus Brandon Royval, was the best fight of the fucking night. Like the Sajara Eubanks fight was fairly good, and the two gentlemen, the opening fight of the card, the two gentlemen I can't pronounce their names, and it was also a good fight. So yeah, it turned out to be a very, very good card. Actually, I picked co-main and main event correctly months ago, so I was happy about that.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we stand.
You have Blachowicz winning.
I had Blachowicz winning. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I haven't texted you. I couldn't wait for Dom to get destroyed,
dude. All right, so let's dial this back. Let's go back, right? Sure. So because I got home fairly late from work, and I missed most of the prelims, which is fine.
Prelims were not bad either.
Yeah,
I watched them for sure.
So as I'm making my way through and, we're getting ready for the main event, I'm watching Sarge, a fighter I don't enjoy watching. And it's not even that I have anything against Sarge. I actually enjoy her journey from the Ultimate Fighter. She's made some real gains in her fighting style. She used to be very grapple heavy, and now she's getting her striking is just starting to clean up, and it's great to watch someone go through that. I thought she was a little bit small for this fight. It was the first time she got bullied in the octagon by someone a little bit more physical than her.
Sure.
But she hung in there. I have a great deal of respect for people that can hang in there against adversity. It's easy to jump ship on the game plan and just kind of concede the point, but she stayed in the fight. Actually, she threw some damn good combos throughout the fight too, man. I saw a couple of body hooks and up tops right after the hook that looked amazing. I think that the one thing that she definitely had going against her is she wasn't able to grind this girl out, which is hard to do when someone's taller than you and they probably outweigh you by 10 pounds. But neither here nor there. That was a great fight. I'm going to jump right to the co-main and just talk about like the fundamentals of kickboxing. And this is why I always laugh when people talk about how athletic a fighter is, because I think being athletic definitely has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with your cardio, has a lot to do with your ability to execute. But you can never forget that Dominic Reyes just started his striking career when he started training MMA, sure. Right? And Blachowicz has been doing Muay Thai and kickboxing probably longer than he's been in the UFC. And it showed, man. It absolutely showed. I texted a few people during the fight. Once the first body kick landed, and I was like, well, that's the fight, isn't it? And everyone unanimously said in my text group, like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's absolutely it. Like, I could not see Dominic Reyes clawing his way back in. And actually, at one point, it was amazing because I can only imagine what it was like to be Blachowicz's corner, because it's like you train for so long, right? You go through training camps, injury, back into the training camp, not including general gym time, just rolling, sparring, doing road work, stuff like that. And you have a vision in your head of how the fight's going to go. And I'm almost positive that the fight went nearly as close to the way Blachowicz wanted it to go upon execution. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He went out there and put on a clinic. Honestly, that body kick, disgusting. Went back to the exact same spot. How many times? Right. I don't know. Reyes came out flat-footed and really just wasn't pushing the pace that you usually expect out of Dominic Reyes, right? Usually expect him to come out and put on a crazy pace. I think he threw 81 strikes in the first round of the Jones fight. And I don't even know if he got 50 strikes off in this fight total. 51 total strikes in this fight. Man, it's hard to say what happened to Dom Reyes or what the camp was leading up to this. He went to 5 rounds with Jones. Was he worried about his cardio going into it, having to go 5 rounds again potentially? Right? There were how many different things could have been going through his head to come out and be flat-footed and be kind of the opposite of the fighter that we usually expect out of Dominic Reyes, right? And
yeah,
I don't take no discredit to Blachowicz, right? He went out there and literally to a T on his fight plan, executed it, and then finished him in the second round. But I'm curious on where the output and the pace was from Reyes.
I think the output and the pace, in my opinion, got shut down quickly.
From that kick, the body kicks, right?
Not just from the body kicks. I think it was the little traps too that Blachowicz was setting up, because so Reyes, and again, I just got to look at it. I'm looking at it logically from my vantage point, right? So in the fight with Jones versus Reyes is going to do something to a fighter like Jones, which Jones is going to let him do. Jones is going to keep distance and keep tagging you, and you come in and he's hoping to catch you slipping and then maybe take you to the ground and pile you out. With someone like Blachowicz that can match your power with technique, I really do think that it wasn't a matter, and I'm not doubting Dom Reyes as a man. Like, I think it takes a lot of strength to just step into the octagon and fight your way there. But I think it's a different beast when you stand in front of someone that's like, yeah, no, my strategy is not point fighting. Like, I'm not here to win. I'm not here to win. I'm not here to win rounds. I'm here to inflict damage. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he's, Blachowicz is not going to give you an inch during a stare down. He's not going to give you much to work with in regards to media days. You don't know what's going on in this guy's head. He's generally there having fun. I agree that Reyes became flat-footed, but I really do, just from my vantage point, I really do think it was like, oh crap. I'm in. I didn't anticipate this, and I think you're right. It's subjective. It's just you and me talking, right? I think you're right, though. I think he really did think. He's like, I beat John Jones. He probably woke up in the morning and said, I beat John Jones, right? Like, to himself in the mirror. He's like, I beat everywhere he went. He goes to Starbucks, like, hey, I took a little bit more soy on that because I beat John Jones and I should be the champion. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to Blachowicz, right? Does not matter to a guy who's having a resurgence in his career at the age of 37 with the greatest podcast on earth, Talking with a Dad. You can find us at Talking with a Dad everywhere across the platform, rooting him on the entire way. And he sunned him. And we clapped. I was clapping I literally almost jumped out the window and ran back in the house because I was like, yes, Dom, you deserve this. Yeah. Why do you deserve it? You deserve it. Tell the people why Dom deserves this. Zach has a better way of putting this. Just give him a little history of Dom Reyes after the Jones fight.
Man, this guy, since losing to John Jones, right, in a decision, right, has done the whole media gambit of I beat John Jones, right? I should be the champion. I beat him. I just fucking can't. I can't stand it, man. It is what it is, right? But that man did the whole fucking. Who else did this recently? That was really
Sean O'Malley.
Sean O'Malley. He did Sean O'Malley to a tenfold, man, and it was bad. It was bad. You can't go around after you lose. It's something I think that in what it takes being a champion, right, is understanding where you lost and where your shortcomings are and where you need to go going forward. You can't, after losing to potentially the greatest fighter to ever do it, right, you can't go around going, man, I beat that guy, right? And you definitely can't call him out for a fucking rematch because we see how that goes when there's a rematch, right? Dom Reyes wouldn't have made it out of the third round. It probably would have been faster than Blachowicz took him out. But I don't know, man. I don't like when it's almost disrespectful to say, you're allowed to say after the fight, like, hey, listen, I believe I won that fight, but John won it. That's how the decision went. Like, congratulations to him, right? That's different, right? To say that, but to go around and going, just essentially denying the fact that you lost that fight when on paper you did is unreasonable.
I think another thing too, man, is to say that the man left the light heavyweight division because he's scared. I don't think.
I forgot about that. That's just hilarious.
Right, but but here's another thing. I want to dial back in because you got me really thinking about it now, right? I think another reason Reyes was looked flat-footed and probably eventually became very flat-footed. So he did acknowledge something that happened to him in a Jones fight that he doesn't want to acknowledge verbally. He started to gas after coming at John.
Yeah.
2 full rounds, and he slowed down. And that's what allowed John to creep back in that fight. You were there at my house. Arguably, I think they could have gave that decision to Reyes, and it wouldn't have been a bad decision if you decided to give it to him at all.
Could have went out of there.
Yeah, but in this fight, I think he was trying to pace himself with Blachowicz, and Blachowicz was like, you do that. I came to win. Though, so whatever strategy you have worked out in your head where you're going to keep distance and you're going to save some into the 4th round, that all went out the window when he started putting damage on him. And the funny thing about it was you could kind of see at a certain point that Reyes, in my mind, no disrespect to Reyes, tasted power of someone else for the first time, right? When you're used to being the hammer and then someone makes you the nail, it can be a little hard moment to get over. But sure. I'm sure Dom Reyes is going to come back from this strong as hell. Who do you got from him next to make his climb back up? Do you push him back 2 fights, or you give him 1 fight, get him right back in the mix? What do you think?
Reyes, man, that's I don't know. Honestly, I really don't. I don't even know who is in the light heavyweight division at the moment. To be fair, winner of Santos, Glover Teixeira, maybe, and then see where it goes from there. That's probably not a bad fight.
Right.
I honestly don't know at the moment. There's rumors Yoel Romero wants to move up to 205. That might not be a bad fight if Yoel wants to move up. Yeah, there's probably a few fights for him. I'd have to sit down and look at it though.
I got the perfect one for you, and it's gonna blow your socks off right now.
Okay.
Anthony Rumble Johnson is still in the testing pool, right?
He's not eligible until like January.
Look,
but
Reyes took a pretty bad knockout. He needs to take a little time, right? You get him, you let him come back from that, and then you bring back the guy that everyone was scared of before there was the Francis Ngannou. Right? You bring back Anthony Rumble Johnson is going to need a tune-up fight, but they're going to want something where it's like, hey, how quickly can we get him back into the title contention talk if he actually comes back? Yeah. Put him against Dom Reyes, the only guy to ever beat John Jones. I could sell it right now. Right? I got the promo ad worked out in my head. I beat John Jones. We'll cut in every time Reyes has tweeted or said aloud, I beat John Jones. It's
a 9-minute clip though.
Every time the clip, it's going, you see another piece of Anthony Rumble Johnson's face.
Knocking people out. At what, fucking 85? Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's not the worst fight I've heard of. I was thinking, maybe Anthony Smith.
No, come on, that's not fair.
They both lost 2 fights in a row.
That's right. Good point. But do you got Smith getting out of there?
It depends, man. It depends. If Smith can bring him into, if it's a main event, right? And if Smith can bring him into rounds 4 and 5, I think Smith can win.
I think Smith's got a clear advantage on the ground, and he's a durable son of a...
and cardio.
and cardio. Can you believe Anthony Smith used to be a high school wrestler? Could you imagine that? Like before the tattoos and like looking like when you think of a cage fighter, Anthony Smith is a guy. Someone showed you the picture. It's like a career day. It's like, oh, that guy's a cage fighter. Like that's like no one even says that anymore. But when you hear the word cage fighter, Anthony Smith's face is synonymous with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's funny to think about him like in high school at one point being a high school wrestler. But I digress. Him versus Dom Reyes, this is my only problem, right? I think it gives Dom too much confidence. I need him to step in there with someone.
No, that's what I want. I want him to give him too much confidence to see him get broken down again.
There's nothing like, you got to tell both of the guys they're about to get cut, right? I think you go back to those days in the UFC, hey guys, it's me, Dana.
Fuck
notice you
these guys.
They're both on 2-fight losing streaks. Company's not doing very well. Next lost guy gets cut. Sells itself. So here's the next thing. Right? Here's something very exciting. So first, I'm going to start by saying this, right? Izzy, I don't know if you caught this, but Izzy definitely humped Paulo Costa.
No, I've seen it, and I've seen the GIF about 1,000 times from about 3 different angles, and it's pretty funny. Let's be fair.
Paulo Costa is not happy.
Mad. He is angry. But I tell you what, if I were Paulo Costa, I could be as angry as I want. I'm hiring a fucking hitman to take his head out.
It's like you can be as angry as you want about it, but when you see him in public, you're gonna find a reason not to let that altercation.
No, you're gonna find a reason to say that you weren't there.
Yeah,
right. You guys could be sitting at the fucking same coffee shop, 3 tables from each other, and if I'm Paulo Costa, I'm fucking smoke bombing, running away. Gone. Man, dude, that was a fucking beatdown, dude.
It was a beatdown. So let's get into the specifics, right? Because we're not just gonna let this go. I know that UFC might not be one of our best topics, but we're gonna talk about this.
It's our favorite topic, though.
It's our favorite topic, and if you're still here, you're our favorite type of fan.
Good luck.
So here's the thing, right? So we got to break the whole thing down. Was it the biggest fight in UFC middleweight history? According to Zach,
biggest, as in like most views, most pay-per-view purchases, most clicks on media websites, probably.
Yeah, probably. I would agree with that. Now, would you say it's the most historic fight in UFC history?
No, absolutely not, man. You got a fairly new champion. Was he defended once, twice? Defended once, right? He defended against UL. This is his second defense, right?
Yeah, second defense, yes.
It's the second defense, right? Middleweight, someone has a stupid amount of defenses at middleweight, right? Silva, maybe?
Anderson Silva, yeah.
Has what, like 8, 10, something like that?
I think it's 9, yeah, 9. Something like that.
Yeah, there you go. It doesn't matter. No, so the second title defense doesn't matter, right? Maybe if we're getting, maybe a 7th title defense, and then those are historic after that because he's like on the run towards Silva's record. Maybe Paulo Costa. I've argued this many times. I don't think deserved to be there. He didn't really. He beat a 40-year-old Johnny Hendricks. He beat a Uriah Hall, who fucking hasn't beat Uriah Hall at this point. And
me.
That's a good point. And he arguably lost to Yoel Romero. The argument could be made that was a very bad decision. To me, that doesn't mean you get a title fight, right? But to the UFC, it does. So, I'm not the matchmaker. I'm not Sean Shelby.
Well, hold on now, and let's not abandon your point here really quickly, right? I like to work things out and play devil's advocate, so I'm going to assume your point of view for a second, and then let's talk about this. Now, let's think about what happened to get a guy like Paulo Costa there, right?
Okay.
Because I've been doing some deep diving into UFC records. They don't know that I sneak in the building late at night, and I just kind of
You've been in the archives, huh?
Rifling through Dana's stuff. But there were a few things that happened to make this fight happen. Darren Till was who they really wanted to fight Izzy. I don't know if you know this, but him and Izzy have had like a friendly back and forth on IG
for a while
and Twitter. Very respectful stuff. It's the type of stuff you want to see if you're a fight fan. So that fight obviously can't happen because Till lost to Whitaker.
Right.
All right. So that's out. I didn't realize how shallow the middleweight division had become up until the point where Paulo Costa, because you don't have Vitor in there anymore. Luke Rockhold's gone. Chris Weidman can't earn, he has to arguably earn his way back up. Even after being a winning, we got to give him his respect. He was a winningest champion. So yes, I can concede to the fact that Paulo Costa, his road is, if he would have became champion, it was not one of those roads to becoming champion that people would want to use in your highlight reel, even though the UFC would do it. We had talked about this one night after the show, past the victory, and we were going back and forth. And I said, the only way I see Costa doing this is getting in there and working the body. And then I sent you the clip of Uriah Hall with the punch he used to knock Paulo Costa down.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to you that night, because you were explaining to me your point why he didn't deserve to be there. I was like, Izzy wins by by just having a perfect fight. Absolutely perfect and shutting him down.
Sure.
Would you say that was a perfect performance from Izzy?
I don't want to say yes, but it was fairly close. I thought he was I thought he was a little slow off the start, but he's just so accurate. It's hard. It's hard for anybody to take that kind of, not even just volume, but just perfectly accurate strikes wherever. Now he did go to that lead leg immediately and threw 20 leg kicks in the first round, which I actually didn't have that on my fucking UFC 253 bingo card of Israel Adesanya going 20 kicks in a row essentially to that front leg and immobilized him immediately, right? He immobilized him 100%. So that was really smart. He had a great game plan. He stuck to his game plan, and I think, he probably executed it as well as he could have.
It's interesting though, because I was listening to Chell's breakdown and I thought the same thing. There were some bizarre moments in this fight, right? So there was a bizarre moment where Paulo was like taunting Izzy, but you're losing the fight.
Yeah.
So typically what happens is you taunt someone when you're winning the fight, right?
To bait him. Yeah.
So the only way you get to taunt is if you're bleeding out your mouth. And you know the rules of cage fighting. You stick your tongue out, let the guy know that you're bleeding, but you like to taste your own blood, that type of stuff. Sure. You don't get to put your hands behind your back as if you're going to do the McGregor and catch someone with a two-piece combo when you've been getting your ass kicked the entire first round. Right. And then even more importantly, you don't get to continue those antics as you're losing the fight, right? At some point, you have to switch it up, right? So you have to go, if my game plan was to get in and work the body, I have to be willing at this point, because I'm getting chopped up from the outside, to get in there and fight. And I think that's why Calvin Gastelum will be the toughest fight that Izzy ever had in the UFC. Because Calvin went in there and he said, I don't care about what you're going to do to me, but I have to get my offense off at any cost, at any cost. And his boxing's a lot slicker, obviously. To your point about not deserving to be there, I have to 100% agree. Paul looked like a guy that just got signed to the UFC that night in that fight.
Yeah, it was embarrassing that he was there, almost, right? Unfortunately, there's no one else right now that either doesn't have a fight or B is deserving of a title shot, right? There's arguments to be made for Cannonier. He's beat a few people in a row, but not much more impressive than what Paulo had beat. Cannonier but has a fight scheduled, right? He has a fight scheduled against Robert Whittaker. The winner of that fight is the next title shot, in my opinion. Yeah. Whittaker wins that, Whittaker gets the title shot again, right? That's just a respect thing. Even if the first fight was non-competitive, Whittaker gets that because he was a champion for a while. Jared Cannonier wins against Whittaker again. You beat one of the greats, right? In my opinion, right? One of the better fighters, if not ever, in that division, in Robert Whittaker. Yeah, that's the next contender spot. Darren Till has to get through Jack Hermanson. That fight is scheduled. If Till does that, I think Till is still another fight away from a title shot. I think he fought for a title against Woodley, right? He was super rushed into that. He had won maybe like 3 fights in the UFC total and had gotten pushed into a title shot. Give the kid some time, right? He's super young. His career is super young as well.
Talking about a kid that was willing to abandon his children to pursue his fighting career.
A hero in my book. I don't know who or what or where or how who gets the next title shot, but it's not, I don't know. I don't know where it goes from here.
So let's address the Izzy going to 205 stuff. So this is where reality comes in, right? We got to be realistic now. Skill level, yes. Izzy has a type of skill where he can go up and probably be extremely successful until he comes into conflict with someone who has maybe not the same skill level, but can match his skill level with power on top of that, right?
So here's what happens if he goes to 205, though, right? Here's the issue with champions going up. They're going to fight the champion of that division. And as technical and as great as Izzy is, he might even be the best striker in the UFC at the moment. Blachowicz is just going to do the same thing I think he did to Reyes. Honestly. So,
here's the thing, right? Let's say John Jones does actually come back, beats the break off the poor Polish champion, right? Or the Polish champion destroys John Jones. You just got to look at this thing realistically. All you people calling for the fight with John, you're trying to get this kid hurt because It's like you're literally serving up an aging champion the perfect type of win he wants. You're repeating Canelo versus Mayweather is what's happening, right? You're putting a young stud up against a wily old veteran. I think John's just going to get his hands on him, and that's going to be the end of the fight right there because it's just going to boil down to strength. I agree that John Blachowicz is going to kick Izzy's front leg out, and that's going to be the end of the fight right then and there. But I'll tell you who's not going to be able to talk shit for a little while on Twitter is Paul Acosta, because he's right up there with the Jordan meme right now. So you can have Jordan meme crying at the sight of Izzy humping Paulo, and I think it would be amazing.
That's good. You just made a meme, dude. I've never done that. That's pretty fucking good. Yeah, I don't know what's next for Izzy. It's hard.
Yeah,
there's a few moving pieces. It might, we might not see Izzy fight again for another 9 months, because you have to let the Cannonier Whitaker fight happen. That's next month, right? You have to let the Till Hermanson fight happen. That's December, right? And then you have to give him a proper training camp after that. So we earliest we see Adesanya fight again as a defense is 6 to 7 months, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. And then we have this crazy guy from Switzerland. I can't, the guy with the hair lip, I can't pronounce his name.
Khamzat Chimaev. He doesn't deserve a title shot yet.
No, he does not.
As good as he is, he needs to fight a Derek Brunson. He needs to fight, the issue is he fights two weight classes, right? 70 and 85.
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult to tell what he needs to do next. At 85, Brunson or Chris Weidman are probably a very good fight for him. At 70, I don't even know at the moment. 70 is kind of shallow too, isn't it?
So actually
no, 70's not that bad. He's going.
70's popping off. 70's popping off right now.
Apparently, he's supposed to fight Maya, but I don't know if that's actually confirmed yet.
So okay. You led me for the setup. Remember I sent you the thing with him saying, give me the skinny guy. I'm not sure if that's how he sounds, but remember I sent you a picture of that and it had a picture of Israel, but apparently that was directed at Neil Magny because he wants to.
I don't know if it was, but Neil Magny wants to fight him.
Yeah. And I've never seen Neil call anyone out. He's just like, hey man, I showed up. They said I was fighting and I fought.
I don't know what a training camp is. Neil Magny would be a good fight for him. Give him Neil Magny, but then still, he has to fight a Wonder Boy. He has to fight maybe he has to fight someone who's going to grapple him, right? Maya is a good example of that. Michael Chiesa is probably not a bad example of that as well, of someone who's going to take him to the ground and see really where the limits are of his ground game. And then after that, he's going to have to fight fucking Leon Edwards or some shit, right? Like, if he fights Maya, right? Because we're still not sure that that's happening. I don't see that confirmed anywhere. But if he fights Maya, that gets the ground game question out. Say he beats him, right? That gets the ground game question out. That's fine. He still has to fight a really good striker. I don't know if I like Masvidal in that. Although Masvidal would actually probably pose a lot of issues for him. Leon Edwards would be incredible for that. Colby Covington might be pretty good for him there. But
I agree with the Colby Covington thing because I think he needs to fight a pressure fighter.
That's very good. Yeah.
I think he needs to fight, and that's why I want him to fight Neil because it's time to get off or take a crap for Neil, right? At this point in his career, Neil's either going to make a real run for the championship, or he's just going to be a gatekeeper. So I think putting them up against each other is great because you're not rushing this kid into a fight that he might not be prepared for, but you are giving him someone that's going to test them in a way that he's tested other people. And we'll see if he welts. If he can't handle the pressure of being overly grappled or having someone coming directly at him, then we know a lot about him. If he beats Neil, then I say you give him Colby. Right then and there. Give Colby him someone to fight. Get the juices going for the public. People are going to be clamoring for that. Man. If he beats Colby, don't you give him Leon Edwards? Don't you give him to Kamaru Usman just yet?
But here's the issue: what division does he want to fight at? Does he want to fight at 70 or does he want to fight at 85? Because in my opinion, it's okay if Cowboy does it, right? Cowboy's not in title contention. Cowboy's going to fill in for 1,000 fights a year. It is what it is when Cowboy fights, right? This guy is going to be a legitimate title contender at some point in the next 2 years, next year and a half even, right? If he takes the Adesanya route of just fighting a bunch and getting straight up to a title shot, he has to pick a division though. A 70 might be the better division for him.
Yeah, but this is a quality problem to have with a fighter like this. I'm sure Dana's licking his chops right now. He's like, man, this is. You know what's crazy about this, Zach? There was a time when people wanted to do this for years, and Dana would stop them. He would not let people jump up and down from the divisions.
Connor broke
at all, right? And Connor broke it, and they finally saw the light. And it's like something that made boxing really exciting. It's something that makes boxing continue to be exciting.
Sure.
Is seeing
those
divisions go against each other.
Yeah, but didn't BJ Penn do that? Didn't BJ Penn fight up and down the weight classes?
That man fought Lyoto Machida. He did. I'm not lying.
No, I know. He fought up and down the weight classes.
He did. He went up. I believe he held the belt. Help me out here. I think he held the belt at 155. I'm not sure if he got it at 145. He might have. I know he lost his 155 belt to Frankie Edgar, who then in turn lost it to Benson Henderson. And I don't know if BJ Penn ever held a 145 belt. I know he's a 2-division champion. I don't know which division. Welterweight. Yeah. He won. I think he won the welterweight belt one time too. Someone help me out in the comments, man. This is why we need to switch to the live feed so we can have the fan in and he can correct.
He won 55 and welterweight. Yeah.
That's right. It's crazy to think that BJ Penn was a champion of anything, but at one point he was considered the elite of the elite. Like, do you know people used to say his striking was futuristic? These are words. I mean, like it was Goldie. I'm not sure if it counts for.
Listen, a guy who's been fighting that long. I guess there's been a lot of things said about him.
None of them good.
Usman versus Gilbert Burns is almost confirmed for December.
No, I didn't know that, man.
It's an interesting fight.
That's going to be a very, very, very grindy, very dirty boxing type of fight. Or it's going to turn out to be like Colby Covington versus Usman, two wrestlers that decide.
That was a good fight, man. That was a great fight. Covington after. I don't know if you've seen Covington talk recently. He does this thing where he's like, "No, I mean, Usman didn't even beat me, right?" And then Usman did the, but I broke your face. The ref had to stop it. I broke your face, like. That's a delusional man too, but for many other reasons. If RDA wasn't fighting Islam Makhachev in October, that would be a good fight for Chimaev.
Yeah, I wish it was earlier RDA though. Early, balls to walls RDA. This RDA is he's at the twilight of his career, but still very dangerous. Very dangerous. That would be a good fight.
Give him a vet. Give him a legit vet.
I would love to go to one of Damian Maia's BJJ clinics. Have you ever look it up? I can't think of a nicer guy to be a teacher. He's like, no. You hook the leg and then you wrench the neck. But it sounds so, it sounds so peaceful coming out of his mouth. Because essentially what he's saying is, make sure he can't escape and then you strangle him. But do it peacefully.
He's a legit fucking jits guy, all right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what, Zach? I gotta tell you, buddy, we had a good weekend of fights, man. And obviously, besides missing the show and being drunk from my anniversary shenanigans, but I went to bed after the fights and I was like, you know what? That was worth the money. I will admit, leaving from the prelims into the main event. I was trying to stay optimistic. You sent me a text that read to the effect of, there's not been one exciting fight. And I was starting to get worried and I didn't want to give voice to it. And I'm just like, it's gonna be okay. it's gonna be okay. But it did good. I think they need to remove Angela Hill. This is the last thing I have to say about fights. And I wanted to hear what you thought about it. Angela Hill should be removed from the commentary table, right? She's too nasally. She's a great fighter.
Was she there?
Yes, she was in the post.
Oh, I see. I don't watch the post-fight stuff.
Oh, you don't watch?
I don't. After the fights are over, I'm done. I might go back and say if someone said something interesting, like say Dana said something about somebody, I'll go back to watch the clip of it. But I don't have a time to watch a 2-hour interview fucking conference after the fight. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Did you notice it was only Anik and Paul Felder for this fight?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It was only the two of them. I thought that was weird. There's usually three.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe DC didn't feel like traveling, and I don't blame him. He's retired, traveling to Abu Dhabi. I feel as if though it might be kind of isolating there because it sounds great, right? When they pitch it to you, hey Zach, you're going to be commentating on Fight Island, and then you get there and you realize you can't leave your room.
No, you can't leave the island. After you're done with quarantine, you can leave the room. Right, because they're controlling on who is coming in and out of the island, right? So they're fairly certain that if everyone has been tested as stringent as they are testing, then no one on the island is going to have COVID.
Yeah, but they have this kind of scheduled thing where you're able to like meander and walk around on a schedule. So it's like, hey, what time are you guys going out to do road work? Because we don't want you to bump into these guys, get anyone infected. And you're just a commentator. Dana would,
but like these guys went in like race cars the last time they were there because it's the hotel that they're in is in the F1 track goes under it, right? Like.
It's like SeaWorld, man. We think those penguins and dolphins are happy, but how do we know they're really happy?
They're not. We know they're not. This is fucking proven by science. SeaWorld is a fucking animal prison and it should be shut down.
And the crazy thing about it is
strongly about that.
No, whenever you bring it up to a SeaWorld rep, they're like, no, that's not true. That's not true. That penguin died from happiness. He said, look at how happy he is. And they're kicking it around. We don't know abuse or death of any animal.
Absolutely not. I think I tweeted out recently that even an animal death in in movies is fucking jarring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason people can't don't get me started on it. Cruelty to animals, children, and homeless people and elderly and
just animals. I don't care about the rest of those things.
They're not things. They're living creatures, you psychopath.
Just animals.
You got anything else you want to say about this lovely evening of fights, buddy?
No, that's about it.
Wait, hold on for a second. How did you like Paul Felder and Anik by themselves? Because there's actually a debate going on about Paul Felder and Anakin.
I didn't mind it. I think, I don't like when it's Cruz, Felder, and Anik, because I think Cruz gets on Paul Felder's nerves a lot, which is funny, but it's also kind of annoying when it's almost confrontational when they're talking to each other. I thought it was fine. I didn't mind it that much.
Who's your dynamic duo for the fights? Like, if you had to pick them, who would you have? 2 or
3?
I prefer 2. The third person generally gets on my nerve because they're fighting for airtime, so I'm gonna say 2.
Felder DC maybe.
I would like
if Bisping would do it. Maybe I would like to do Bisping. No, Bisping does do it. Bisping DC maybe.
Yeah. Bisping, I could deal with that. I would like to bring Chael in DC.
I don't think Chael won't do it, man. I don't think Chael has anything to do with the UFC anymore.
No, he's like, you got. Well, I mean, it's the cheating thing and all that stuff.
Bellator and
steroids. I'm gonna let you guide me, big guy, because you got some great stuff that you added here. These were obviously the topics for another show, but you still picked them, and I like them. So you go ahead.
All old news. See, there's been one glaring question on my mind for the last. I don't know, how long have we been doing the show? A year, more than a year, right? Why the fuck do you like Facebook live streaming so much?
I'll tell you why I like it so much right after I catch this timestamp right here. Bam. So here's the thing, right? I'm willing for you to call me old and to call me all the mean things that you say about me when I say I like stuff, but God damn it, I'm setting myself up. I can see the pain coming right now. So I
don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm almost offended by it. Almost.
So I went on the other day, right? And I was watching someone stream. They're playing Warzone. I don't know the young lady's name, but you told me she dates someone from the CDL or for a fairly famous COD player, well known.
May. You're talking about May, who dates Diesel, who is an original. Fight me on this, but a founding member of Optic back in the day. I was on the Optic competitive team for a long time before it actually went to a legitimate competitive team. Diesel.
Yeah, and I looked him up once you told me who he was, and I was like, oh, dude's obviously got skills. Everyone's got skills comparatively to me. But I went to go check out her stream because I didn't even know I had live alerts for her on my Facebook. So I click into it, And I gotta tell you honestly, man, like I've watched a lot of people on Twitch and I've only engaged with a few people. I follow one guy called Zach in Plays. Check him out, Twitch TV. You know, I was following Doc when he was on there, and then that was about it. I couldn't get into anyone else. I watched her stream for an hour and laughed my ass off the entire time.
Who was she playing with?
I don't know her buddy. I don't know her buddy's name, but I know that they were running around in Warzone, and literally this like it was a good carry. Like she carried this guy, and she was very humble about carrying him. Like he got downed this man went to the gulag more than anyone else I've seen, and he came back in. She brought him in a few games, but there was this one moment that just had me cracking up. He's like, "Oh, I'm downed. They got my stuff. Okay, they're getting their stuff back." And she busts into a room. She's like, "What stuff? What stuff? I got their stuff!" And she wipes out an entire.
She's good, man. She's very good. But yeah, she's been, she's been dating Diesel forever, and Diesel was a very good player at one point or another. You know, he plays with the, it's called Umu now, but at one point when Hector was still in Optic, they did the Old Men of Optic, where it was Hector, Hutch. Fwiz would fill in from time to time. Diesel was always there, right? Like all the older guys that weren't in the competitive scene anymore, they would play like game battles matches or tournaments or whatever, and do it under the Old Men of Optic. And he was always a very competitive player there. Yeah, he was very good. But they've been together for a long time, years, tens of years.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it to my wife, and I'll circle back to why I like Facebook gaming, but I was trying to explain to my wife, like, so there's so many female streamers. I'm going to show them the proper respect. They're out there grinding during their hustle, but we know what their hustle is, right? Maybe they're not really into gaming culture or into the games that they play. They play them because there are people who are into the games, and that draws them in, and they're there, attracting their fans in a different way. I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm officially done with hating e-girls. What this was, for me, I've seen other female players play. I've never seen anyone play as aggressive as she has in that game and games following. And I told my wife, I was like, it's good to see that, because there are always going to be these type of trolly dudes who are like, girls can't play games. And I'm like, she can clearly play. Sure. So I went down a rabbit hole on Facebook gaming, and I found out what it is I enjoy about it. It's like watching an underleague game, right? Like you keep hearing how there's talent in the underleagues, and you're like, no, they can't be. And then because you stumble onto a good game, you're like, man, some of these guys could really play in the majors. And some of the content I was watching on Facebook gaming, and I know I fell for this too with Mixer. I think maybe because it's a smaller community, but there's so much engagement and a positive type of engagement from the community itself that are usually following these streams, and the actual content is pretty amazing too. And I think that has to do with the fact that they have to work that much harder to retain people, right? Like they have to be able to draw people in. And I was blown away. I was so blown away that I actually got angry at you, man. And I was like, why isn't he streaming on Facebook? But then I realized that's a really weird thing to get mad at someone about and like call them at 2 a.m. Luckily you didn't pick up your phone when I was trying to call you. And
you've never called me at 2 a.m.
I've called you multiple times at 2 a.m, but from different phone numbers every time, so it's just at this point, I kind of gave away my own hustle, but that's why I like it. That and because I can catch games of things. I don't know who this channel is. I'll send you a link, but there's a guy who is beast moding through God of War right now, right? Any quest that people have said is undoable, he's doing live on his stream. And I'm just like, that's amazing. Obviously I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. I actually got to watch a Street Fighter tournament on Facebook.
Yeah, you and 13 other people.
It was 15, and I made 16. It was freaking amazing, dude. That's why I love Facebook gaming. It looks pretty clean, polished, and I think it's also because I'm kind of an anti-big guy. Rooting for the little dogs over there, man. But yeah, it's you mean to tell me you're not, after all of that, you're not even a little bit interested? Are you on Facebook right now, or are you just? What is the blue hue on your glasses?
I'm trying to figure out how to even get to Facebook gaming, the live streaming platform that is Facebook gaming. I don't like the Facebook UI. I really never have. I always thought it seems outdated. But I want to know who the biggest person is on Facebook gaming right now, and it's probably some child playing mobile games, in my opinion. Maybe Disguised Toast. Disguised Toast is huge right now. We talked about him last week, and how his YouTube was blowing up, but he's, obviously on Facebook gaming. May is live right now with 2,500 people. Like, yeah, I mean,
and those are pretty good numbers considering like what we would see over at Mixer, I think. But then again, like, actually, I won't say anything about Mixer. I won't say anything bad. I've seen people pull those numbers at Mixer as well. So.
Yeah, but like Ninja and Shroud, they're the only two. Yeah, there are, you know, the top 3 right now on Facebook Gaming are 3.3 thousand, 2.5, and 2.5, and May is one of them, right? In May, I at least recognize the name.
Right.
All of these other people, I wouldn't recognize the name if you put a gun to my head, and I really couldn't even make it up. But it's unfortunately it's a growing platform, right? So there's going to be that way. You know, it is what it is, right? Facebook is as Facebook is, right? I don't use it, don't like to use it, don't even like to open it up on my fucking computer. So
but there's multiple layers to that Facebook thing, that reaction that you have, right? Like, I know one, you just don't like the platform, but you actually believe like in this, you know, anti-Facebook because of the security breaches and stuff like that as well, right?
Security breaches and the fact that they're stealing your information and selling it to the Chinese instead of just TikTok just funneling it to the Chinese. Yeah,
here's the thing.
I don't know which one is worse. They're both fucking awful.
How do you feel?
Probably selling it.
No, that's capitalism right there. You got to be.
No, but it's not good though. It's not good. It's not good.
I think another thing I really enjoy about Facebook gaming, man, is watching people's parents jump into their live streams, which I've seen, by the way. I've seen parents actually on their phone like, "Oh, good job, buddy," and I'm like, "That's amazing. That's wholesome." You'll never see anything like that on Twitch. There's nothing but evil on Twitch now. It's an evil.
It's a very, very, very good, very, very good website. Tampa Bay Lightning just won the Stanley Cup Finals.
Who?
The Tampa Bay Lightning, team that I had picked to win in the playoffs.
Nice,
won. Dude. Only reason I even like the Tampa Bay Lightning is the fact that Ryan Callahan, the old Rangers captain, is on the team, or at least was on the team for the longest time after they traded him. So that's pretty neat. And also fuck Dallas. Just in general.
But if you're fans from Dallas, obviously we don't mean F you.
No,
but
we do.
I guess F you guys too. But please wait 3 days to unsubscribe from the channel. Helps with the algorithm. Let me ask you a question. How satisfying do you think this championship is to them as athletes? Very. It
has to be, man. It's still a cup, right? You know, you still get to raise the Stanley Cup. You know, you still get to hold it, and you still get to party with it. It is absolutely just as satisfying as it is if it was a regular season. Obviously, I think it's actually might even be more because no one was in this Stanley Final, like playoffs, injured, right? A lot of times, hockey players are very notorious for playing injured regardless, right? When the Blues won last year, the fucking Tarasenko, their leading scorer, was then out for the next 4 months with a shoulder surgery. Like immediately after, it's like, yeah, I played with a torn labrum or rotator cuff, whatever the fuck your shoulder is, right? Like torn this and torn that, and I had a bad ankle and this and that, and it was like I was playing at like 60%. Right, and all fucking hockey players do that. So it's probably even better to come in where everyone was healthy, everyone was fresh, everyone was coming in to this pseudo playoff, pseudo half season healthy, and it's probably even better.
Did you watch it all?
A little bit, not too much.
Sports struggling right now, ratings wise. If you're to believe everything that you read on the internet, which you should, it's bad for your health. But apparently, hockey was not one of those sports. Basketball.
Playoff hockey is the most exciting sport, and you cannot prove me wrong. The most exciting subset of sport is playoff hockey, like by a significant margin. Right, there's less people on the ice. The pace of play is faster. Like,
how do you even quantify? I'm not trying to prove you wrong, but how do you even quantify that type of thing? Like, how do you comparatively against another playoff game? Is it just like,
well, the most exciting? Watch him and see how you feel. Right, like. You go.
Zach, you and I both know I don't like things that make me happy. If I watch,
I know, and you would have given up on hockey long ago because it makes you feel good.
I was watching a movie the other night. And I was like, oh man, this is really great. Turn this shit off right now.
Has to go. Yeah, it is right. It's the only sport that can keep me captivated. I've watched all fucking sports, right? Played most of them, and hockey is really the one that keeps me captivated the most. It's just fun to watch. So,
you like playing hockey games, like video games?
NHL? Yeah, I've played a bunch.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still an active like
huge? Yeah, still very big.
Still very big.
It's not FIFA level and it's not quite Madden level, but it's right under that. Yeah. NHL is very, very, very popular. Yep, it's fun to play.
Actually, you know what? One day I would love to do a show about that, man. I would really like to take some time to research it and talk about which group is the most annoying, toxic fan base. Is it hockey? Is it? I'm talking about video games. Is it FIFA? Is it Madden? Or is it 2K? I feel as if though, if you disagree with
only sports, it's probably 2K.
Do you think they're the most toxic?
It's probably 2K by a wide margin, honestly. The Madden guys have given up years ago because the Madden hasn't changed since 07. The NHL guys are all Canadian, so they're all like, "Oh yeah, bud, it's just a slap in the back there. It was a good time there."
Just take it easy, friend.
The FIFA guys are like, a lot of those guys are super fucking into FIFA, but I don't know how toxic that community is. Probably fairly toxic, I would imagine. But I think 2K community is very, very toxic.
You know what's crazy about real life soccer, right? I was trying to explain to someone what it's like to go to let's say a game in Germany, and instead of it just being your normal heckler that you would see at a basketball game, that's just like, "Boo, Zach, you suck! Let's throw up the rafters and all that stuff." When you see an actual Nazi flag, and they're like when they're saluting it at you because you're like from another country, I think that might be a bit jarring as a player.
So obviously the thing is like there's the fucking football hooligans, right? And that's super common where they'll riot and shit. Like, yeah, I mean, I think the fan base, not the video game fan base, but soccer fan base might be the most toxic. Although just Boston sports in general might trump that. But
there is not a Boston sport event that I don't think you have a good opportunity of getting decked in the eye. It could be little.
You know what's worse?
What?
Philly.
Oh, good
Philly's like physical worse, but Boston fans are the absolute worst.
I'm ready to debate this with anyone, and I know Zach is getting more and more into this. Now I'm going to pull him on my side. Best boxing gyms in the world, Philadelphia. Do you know why? Because it's that Philly attitude. Like, absolutely.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't know, but I'm not going to disagree.
I know someone who is going to disagree with me, and I'm sure I'll get that text later on like, "You're wrong, bro." But no, I'm right, bro. Best boxing culture, Philadelphia. I agree with Zach. More dangerous than an English soccer hooligan, a Sox fan who's been drinking all night long.
No. A Flyers fan, a Philadelphia Flyers fan. They threw batteries at Santa Claus after they lost a game one year. They had given out little flashlights, and they took the batteries out of them and were throwing them at Santa Claus that was walking around the streets of Philly. Fuck out of here. No, Philly's the worst. I'm saying the worst fans to like ever have a conversation with are Boston fans. They're spoiled. They can't stand losing. There's never a legitimate loss to a Boston team in a Boston fan's eyes. It's always an excuse for this or that. Yeah, they're just not fun to be around.
So you basically just describe me as a John Jones fan. Like, I can explain away all of John's losses and his shenanigans. And
he's never lost.
I know. That's what's perfect about being a John Jones fan. It's amazing. Every day is better than the last until after the fight, and it's that tense moment of will he pass the drug test? Dear God, what's he going to do?
Then it's 3 months after the fight is if he's going to hit another pregnant woman with a car. That's always a scary time as a John Jones fan. Holy shit.
Sports fans in general, man, like, just think about it. See, this is a little bit before you and I's era. Let's go back to the good old 1970s hockey teams and baseball teams, basketball teams. These guys were actively doing cocaine before games. It's like their Gatorade.
You think that hockey hasn't stopped that?
You know what?
You didn't know that hockey is like the hockey culture is very, very much centered around opiates. Those guys like.
So cocaine's out then, is what you're saying.
Oh, did I fuck that up? they're very much so addicted to pills. I've like cocaine too. Actually, NHL is the only major league sport that doesn't test for marijuana, I believe.
And I'm totally fine with that.
Me too. Those guys need fucking all the help and recovery they can get. They play a lot of games very quickly. Yeah. All right, let's move on. There should be 3 timestamps in there.
No.
We'll add that to the editor. You need to add a timestamp in there for fucking hockey and sports talk.
Hold on for a second.
After the Facebook gaming talk.
Hold on for a second. Listen, Zach and I agreed on one thing when we decided to start doing the timestamps. We're not going to change the flow of the show. So if we decide to talk about candy and that makes it into one timestamp, guess what you're listening to? You're listening to fucking candy.
I'm saying it should be sectioned off as its own timestamp. That's all I'm saying. Not that I'm editing the flow of the show. You know what also doesn't edit the flow of the show?
Steve? It's gonna be good.
The new Nick Fury series that I'm very excited for.
You know what? You bitter old Betty. You just because the Mouse House is doing great things and you can't get with it, you gotta knock down everything I love, man. You show up to my son's 2nd birthday party. You tell him that there's no Santa Claus. That's why you're not allowed over to the house anymore, Zach. That's exactly why.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I do that to all children, though, to be fair.
Let me school you a little bit on this because you know who Samuel L. Jackson obviously is, and he has been a staple in the MCU since its inception. With Iron Man, I believe he made his way into the end of the 1st or the beginning of the 2nd movie. Can't recall. Same thing, exactly the same thing. Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury, a character that was race bent for him. Started in the comic books, obviously. Honestly, they made Nick Fury black, and then they changed it to make him the son of the original Nick Fury. Why is this a big deal? People have been clamoring for some type of show or recognition for that character who's kind of been used as a plot device for years. It's interesting to see that they're going to do it now because Sam Jackson is old as sin. Right? So at this point in his life, he's got to be around 70. It's going to be hard for him to do any action scenes. I know what you're saying. Robert Redford did some in some movies, but come on, it's Robert Redford, man. But what's going to be really exciting about this is how it's going to lead us into the next phase.
71.
71. He's an old 71, dude. He's lived a hard life. Do you know any of Sam Jackson's backstory?
I just know that he's been an actor forever.
Oh, that man was addicted to all the cocaine, but he has since recovered from all that type of stuff. But the best thing about this is going to be is if they give us flashbacks of the Sam Jackson story, of the Nick Fury story, because then it's going to open it up to a lot of stuff that people really enjoyed about the 2nd Captain America movie. That movie, Captain America Winter Soldier, was very much like a spy espionage movie. It kind of strayed away from just being a normal superhero movie, and I think people are looking forward to seeing that type of stuff with Nick Fury, seeing him in his heyday and running around. And also it's going to do a lot of building for what's next in the MCU. Even though everything's delayed right now for another year, this will kind of set up stuff that's going on with the Black Widow movie, which was delayed again, unfortunately, which will also lead us into, if you saw Spider-Man, not you, Zach, if you saw Spider-Man Far From Home, we see Nick Fury's character up in a big space bubble satellite, which everyone assumes is leading us into his Sword arc, which was a great story arc. You look riveted by these things. I'm speaking directly.
Is Sword when they go out into space and then they have to fight fucking space shit?
You couldn't have read the comic books and that would have been an entirely. So S.H.I.E.L.D. is literally supposed to protect the Earth from invaders and internal threats.
Sword's supposed to attack, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I knew that, but I did. And I wasn't paying attention for any of that. All right. And back. Go ahead, Stevie. I'm sorry.
And that's what I'm talking about right here, man. So the best thing about this, for me personally, man, so if they decided to end the entire MCU thing, right? If they just said, hey, you know what? We've made the money. The story has run its course. I would have been glad that they finally gave Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury this opportunity. I do not think it should be a continuous show. I think we're good with 6 episodes. Give us some flashbacks.
You want like a mini-series?
Mini-series. Because I don't think he's a character. I don't think the MCU version of Nick Fury is a character that you can prolong or sustain a show based on. Okay. Because at the end of the day, it's still got to be entertaining and it's still going to have great writing. And I know you're going to agree with me on this. If the writing is horrible, I don't want more than 6 episodes. Let that novelty die and we got it and it's over and we can put it to bed. But if the writing is good and it whets the appetites of the fans, you still don't need to continue it. Just leave us wanting more. I think that's what was so great about the entire Lord of the Rings saga, is that the fact that even at the end, when everything came to a conclusion, I still wanted more, but I was happy that it was over. And I think this would be a good.
Then they made The Hobbit. That's exactly what happened with Lord of the Rings, right?
It is, man. And
I've not watched The Hobbit yet. I don't know if I should. I have finished the trilogy. I don't know if I should watch The Hobbit.
I told you, I'll let you sign into my Google Play. You can watch all the extended versions. They're a lot better than what was released in the theater.
Aren't they on HBO though?
Not the extended versions.
I don't care about the extended versions, dude. I don't have that much time in my life. Actually, they're not.
What do you mean you don't have that much time in your life for an extended version?
I don't care. I just don't fucking. I don't want to sit down and watch a 5-hour movie. Especially if like an hour and a half into it, I'm like, wow, this could wrap up any minute. And then I look down, there's 3.5 more hours left. I don't want to do that. I actually really, really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings series. So
yeah,
I don't know if I want to ruin it by making it twice as long.
I mean, well, it's funny you should bring that up because Amazon is still going to release their series, and we still don't know much about it.
I think it's a good idea. I do.
What, that we don't know much about it, or that they're doing it?
Both. Absolutely. I feel like the way that you keep these shows suspenseful, and I think Game of Thrones did it really well, other than the fact that there were books written about it, the exact series, is that you don't know exactly what's coming, right?
Yeah.
And that's good, right? We need that suspense. Too many trailers nowadays fucking tell you exactly what's going to happen in the movie because people don't have the attention span to sit through a 2.5-hour movie, right? No. Like, it's bad. So
I couldn't agree more, and that's another reason why I think we're good with 6 to 8 episodes of the Nick Fury show. 6 episodes. I think with 6 to 8 episodes, you get some writers in there who care about this franchise to say, hey, this is how we're going to send this old man off, because Samuel L. Jackson obviously can't keep playing this character, right? So at some point, we're going to have to do away with him because I don't want to see a withered and old Nick Fury. That's another thing I don't want. I want my characters to stay preserved the way they were in the comic books. I want them to be in fighting shape. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him get old. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the fantasy. But I don't want to see this show follow the history of other shows like a Game of Thrones, which started off great, which had a mid great, but towards the end, the writing, the thing that we all relied on to make it good, fell apart.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was only six seasons of Game of Thrones, and it was wonderful.
You know what? I didn't take my heroin. You're right.
I don't have my sunglasses around. Shit, I can't do this bit.
You should have had the sunglasses queued up for that. Honestly,
they're in my car. They're in my car.
There was only, you're right. There were only 6 seasons, and I don't know what happened with the last one, man. And but in regards to Nick Fury, it would be interesting. Zach's not going to watch it, right? But I'm going to talk to Zach about it as if he does watches it. I'm just going to
I'll be the best listener you have.
Yeah, and I'm just going to see what you think about plot holes, plot development, because that's the only thing I care about. I think that's why the Watchmen show isn't now, in hindsight, people really enjoy it, because as a miniseries, as a one-off, it's amazing. Sure. But there's nowhere else to go with it, right? Okay. there's nowhere else to go with it. I mean, and Disney they need a win right now, right? So HBO Max got off to a slow crawl, but it's starting to pick up momentum. They got the Snyder Cut coming. They got shows that are actually being released.
Is very good.
It's got new content on it. And Disney Plus got Mulan. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Mulan was not well received. Terribly received. See, what the thing is, HBO does is HBO doesn't have to be PC like Disney does, right? HBO has made their entire career, their entire catalog off of the exact opposite, right? You can't look at the catalog of what HBO has done, and first of all, you can't say that it's been bad, right? Mostly everything HBO has done, it's been incredible. You know, most years, I think I've said this before, you know, most years, if you say, hey, what's the best show on television right now? An HBO show is going to be in that argument no matter what, whether it's Boardwalk. Is Boardwalk Empires HBO? I think it was, right? Entourage, Boardwalk Empires, The Sopranos is my favorite TV show of all time. Game of Thrones for most of its seasons, even its last season was probably the best thing on TV at the time. Oz, The Wire, right? Like you could go through the catalog and like, okay, yeah, this is probably the best thing on TV at the moment, right? And that does really well for a streaming platform. Yeah, it does. It really does.
Especially if people want to revisit the catalogs, like when we're leaving out shows like Deadwood. Didn't really succeed, but it's still beloved. Rome had a very short run. Loved Westworld. got it started off great. Kind of in a weird place right now. Space robots, always a dangerous thing. That's where I think they're leading to.
Space robots. I love it. Yeah, I mean.
And Mantis is reviewing a show for their on there right now called the I have no idea what it's called, but look up Mantis's show, and he's actually going through it right now, and it looks like it's one of the best shows not to be watched. HBO Max has new content. Disney Plus, as much as I'm a huge Disney stan, doesn't have anything new. They made a decision not to release Black Widow on Disney Plus. That's a movie people wanted. No one really wanted Mulan. They could have made millions, right? Releasing it straight to Disney. They said, we're going to push it back. We want a theatrical release.
That's fair.
They could have released The New Mutants, a movie that would have done extremely well with people tied down to their house right now with nothing else to do. Perfect movie to release on Disney Plus. The producers of that movie, no, we want a theatrical release. Didn't make any money. None. Christopher Nolan is the only guy besides Disney going through the woes right now. He released Tenet, and guess what? No one went to go see it. Do you know why?
Because it was in theaters and none are open other than in Florida.
And Connecticut, if you're willing to drive down there.
Okay, I didn't realize Connecticut was that open, but okay.
Yeah, Mantis has been over there all the time, so that means you're officially not allowed in the studio, Mantis. Who knows what you got?
Yeah, you probably have that Connecticut-itis.
Yeah. But that's all I have to say about Nick Fury and Disney Plus. They need something to come in and hold people's subscriptions, because at this point, you've probably worked your way through the entire library.
Yeah, and it's really good if you have children, right? For you, it's probably very good, right? Your kids are going to experience the fucking the Lion Kings and the old Mulan and all the good stuff, right? Yeah, you're very passionate about Disney Plus, and I like this. Something I'm very passionate about is going to be having a big change coming up very, very soon.
What's that?
RuneScape and Old School RuneScape are coming to Steam. So Old School RuneScape will follow in 2021, I believe, quarter 1, quarter 2, 2021, something like that. But RuneScape itself, the actual RuneScape that is out currently, will be, coming to Steam October 14th. It's very interesting.
It's amazing that you said this, because I just hacked my Pixelbook and gave it GPU acceleration so I can play Steam games. So I'll play RuneScape on my Pixelbook.
You're cute. You don't need GPU acceleration for that shit. It's capping. It used to run in fucking browsers. You used to have to go to oh man, what were the old browser game websites? Oh man, I'm gonna fucking crucify myself for this one. This is bad. But you used to have to go to a website to get to it, man. And before they had their own official website, and it used to run through a browser. What are you talking about? It's GPU acceleration. It's just interesting, right? My fear, and this is not a very good interesting, it's a very bad interesting in my opinion. It's RuneScape, the game RuneScape, and not Old School. Has a lot of microtransactions in it, right? And I'm very, very anti-microtransaction. Always have been. Especially in a game that would now become pay to win, right? And okay, whatever. So that's fine. RuneScape coming to Steam, that makes sense then, I would think, right? But Old School, the thing about Old School is that they have an entire separate dev team. They have different funding. They have they split off from regular RuneScape to preserve that feeling of Old School, right? And how Old School is. And I'm afraid that coming to Steam is going to negate that. And we're going to go down a way of microtransactions and selling expansions and DLCs. And really, Old School is not about that. It's subscription based. You pay I don't even know how much it is a month. I just pay it. It's not anything that even concerns me. It's because I'm gonna play it 100 hours a month, and I'm gonna pay my subscription. And I've gotten my money's worth out of it for the next 10 years if I continue to pay the subscription and never play it again. But I don't want to see it go down this path, because then if that happens, the first microtransaction they add to Old School RuneScape, they lose 80% of their player base.
Wow, you think so?
That is how passionate the Old School community is about microtransactions and preserving the Old School feel of RuneScape, and I appreciate that.
No, I mean, this is something you're extremely passionate about. Actually, it's funny to hear you say that they can lose 80% of the community. I think they would deserve that if they went in there and decided to do something like that. Like 100%, I would love to see the consumer market turn on a big company and just go, "Hey, we warned you, didn't we?"
Big company.
What, Steam, Valve, whatever.
No,
Who's the parent company?
Jagex is what owns RuneScape.
But who are you worried about putting in the? Educate me on this. Who are you worried about putting?
They're just allowing their game to be on the platform, right?
Okay.
You know, Valve doesn't own Jagex, right? You know, to be a game on Steam, you just have to apply to be a game on Steam. A game like RuneScape makes a lot of sense. It's a huge game, right? But the publisher is Jagex.
No, I get that. What are you worried about in regards to the microtransactions? How would that change by it going on Steam? Are you worried about Jagex?
No, it becomes easier, right? You know, you have a Steam wallet was associated with games, and the Steam platform allows, you know, microtransactions or you know, transactions to be made very easily, right? You know, potentially they might not have the infrastructure for that. Now, I'm also worried about, so when you play RuneScape, old school RuneScape, right? Not regular RuneScape. Who cares about that game? When you play old school RuneScape, you don't play on the old school RuneScape client, right? There are other clients that have been made that are better than the original client. And I'm curious if we're going to go down a path of, hey, you have to play it on Steam to play on a verified server. And hey, you can't use these other clients now. And I'm curious on how that's going to go. I'm more afraid of that.
Yeah, I could see how you would be, especially if they're going to mess with something you care near and dear about. I just don't get the pay to win thing, right? Because I mean, when I say I don't get it, it's not that I don't conceptually understand it. I don't understand how it could be rewarding, right? So I want to grind out to get my character to the best place possible, and then I don't ever want to touch the game again. Yeah, I don't play RuneScape, but there are other games where I've gotten my character OP, and I'm like, I did it. This was fun.
You've never played a game with end game though, right? So like with an MMO, World of Warcraft is like this to an extent. RuneScape is very much so like this. Is you build your character right along. You know, you're looking at story games versus an MMO, which is hard to do, right? There's not really there's a story and shit that you do in RuneScape. There's not like an overarching, you know, God of War type story. So you do the things that you do to get to a point where you could do the end game content. There is content that is pretty much exclusively locked to the top 5% of people or something, right? Wow. And because it takes a certain skill level, and B, it takes, you know, your account has to be at a certain level to do the things that is at end game, right? Raids, Chambers of Xeric, and Theater of Blood are very much so in that end game content. And the Inferno is like the tip of the end game content, with you know, less than 1% of people being able to complete the Inferno. Very, very few people, you know, less than 10,000 of an average monthly user base of over 1 million have this Inferno, beat the Inferno and have the Inferno cape, right? Now, if I could spend $50, not that you can't already, but I don't like promoting those fucking scam websites. If I could pay Jagex $50 and buy myself full Justiciar, and then pay him another $50 and buy a Twisted Bow, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can go do the Inferno now. It's almost like, it takes a little bit of skill. It's gonna take me 3 attempts, but I now have the best of the best gear. I didn't have to go through Chambers of Xeric and Theater of Blood to get the best of the best gear. I paid for it, and now I can go do the end of the end game and go kill Zoc. Right.
It's stupid. That's what I don't understand. Like, so why even play the game? It's the same thing with hackers. Now, remember, I don't need to understand, but I don't get it. So I would love to interview someone one day and really get to their, they're like, why did you buy the game? Only to skip through the process of what makes the game great. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So I think the microtransactions are more for the people who don't have the time. Right.
Okay.
The guy, like, I always use you as a really good example, is the guy who might have an hour a day to play a game. Right. And you've done the early game content, because that's only about 5 hours or 7 hours worth of content. And then the mid tier content is 2,000 hours. Right. And now you're now looking at what, a 10-year commitment to get to the beginning of the end game. Right. And then the end game is another 800 hours before you can even get to the last stuff. Right. And that's perfect. I'm the luckiest person. Like, this is where I am. Right. You know, there are some very, very incredible players who do everything in 1,500 hours. I'm not one of them, to be fair. I'm pretty much in end game, and I'm, you know, 1,500 or 1,800 hours into my account, whatever it is. You know, but it's for the people who have an hour a day. Oh, I've done the early stuff. I've done most of the mid stuff, or I've seen the mid level stuff. What is this high end late game end game stuff that I'm not going to get to see for 10 years? Oh, I can spend $100 or I can spend $75 and essentially boost myself to that. Oh, okay, I can get to see the rest of this stuff now. Yeah, I'll do that. Right. That's what microtransactions are for, in my opinion.
So, as I'm listening to you, man, I got to give you a little respect here. It doesn't sound like you begrudge the people at all who would use the microtransactions, though, pay to win. Like there's usually a response that I hear from other gamers, just like F these dudes, or they're not really into the game, and it's that kind of subculture thing. We talked about this on the EK show that night,
sure.
But you don't seem to be having that same reaction to them. Tell us why.
No, I mean, I definitely don't like it, right? And I don't like when a game goes pay to win. If like I said, if RuneScape were to go pay to win, I'm canceling my subscriptions, right? I think I have 2 or 3 accounts that are paid subscriptions, because I play the game so much and I play it in multiple different ways. If they were to add a microtransaction, say to boost a level or buy items or even item skins at this point, I feel like if I were to pay $5 to get a skin put in the game, I would greatly dislike that, especially in RuneScape, right? Other games I don't care, right? If you're buying the battle pass in Modern War, in Call of Duty, whatever, dude, you're not doing anything crazy. If you're buying level 120 boosts in World of Warcraft, whatever, you're not going to be a great player anyway. I understand why they do it, and I could see why, and I understand. I don't like it, but I can see it.
You know what? The grinding it out, I think, is more enjoyable, but it's true. There is a huge demographic of people who do have a very limited amount of time to play games, but it's just still, I'm sorry, I'm probably a poor example because as you explain, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. My hour is precious to me, right? And when I do
I only use you as an example because you have that hour, right? Not because you're the person who's going to buy your way through that hour. It's like,
stop saying that I have an hour. There are people listening to the show. I have what I consider some time that I'm grateful to have given to me by the person that gives me the time. And I'm grateful for it. Sometimes it's more than an hour. And I don't want to lose that. So we're going to stop saying an hour and we're just going to say, I have time to play video games, right? And I get what you're saying, but I don't want to cheapen the experience. I just beat the Avengers the other night, right?
Okay.
And I could have done a bunch of things to skip ahead. I realize that now. Towards the last mission, I was like, oh man, I could have done so many things to make this easier on myself. I played it on brutal the entire time, gave me a headache, almost had a seizure at one point, but it felt so good to do it without having to. You get what I'm saying? But
no, I'm the grinder. I play games through and through when I play them, right? I've been grinding my RuneScape account for 15 years, kind of. You got to take into account the fact that in 2013, whatever it was when Old School RuneScape came out, you essentially reset your account to play Old School versus what RuneScape was at the time. So I say 15 years, but really it's been 7.
Okay.
You know, I how many hours I put in the World of Warcraft when I was leveling my main character to get to, so when the next expansion comes out, I'm ready for the next expansion. 300 hours or something. I don't know what it was. I put a lot of time into it. I'm the guy who wants to go grind through games. New World is a very good example. I played 50 hours of New World, whatever it was, in the 8 days that it was out on like preview, right? I played a lot of it, but I enjoy that kind of game. So, you know, I'm the person who hates microtransactions, but I can see why and understand why that they do that.
Walk me through one more thing, because you're a paid subscription. So when it goes to Steam, for the uninitiated, how will that work? Will you buy it on Steam? No.
I'm assuming I buy 3 months of subscription at a time, and it just automatically from Jagex comes out of my bank account. So I'm assuming it's going to stay that way. I feel like it's just going to be another way to play the game. I feel like it's not going to be exclusive to Steam. You know, and it is what it is, right? If it becomes exclusive, that becomes an issue, I think. But I feel like it's just a way to get the game to a broader mass. They've been for a long time now. And when I say a long time, it's about 2 years. It's a long time for Jagex to really commit to anything. They've really been trying to like get the game out there again, right?
Okay.
They've been really, really, really brutally attempting to try and get it out there. They hired a guy within this last year who did a lot of the marketing and a lot of like the early game development for Guild Wars. I don't know if you know what Guild Wars is, an old school MMO. Who did a lot of that kind of stuff. So they brought other MMO developers in recently to try and spruce up the team and help and do something. We're already seeing effects of that. We got a new quest recently that introduces people to the Slayer skill where we didn't have one before, because Slayer has always been a higher level skill to do anyway. So we're getting stuff in of really, they want to like optimize the early game experience for new players, and they want to really push the game and get more players again.
I mean, a lot of good stuff mixed up in with some stuff to be concerned about. I don't think they'll go exclusive to Steam, because then they would just alienate and lose a lot of business. But companies have done some weird things before with their games. You're like, I did not see you nose diving it.
Yeah, EA making all of their games exclusive to Origin. Call of Duty switching over to the Battle.net client, right, where it was on Steam traditionally before that. Yeah, very, very questionable things recently in gaming. You know, as much as I distrust Jagex with a lot of their fucking stupid decisions that they've done for this game in the past, I do trust that they won't go exclusive.
There was something you told me one day that I was like half awake, and we were just about to wrap, but you were talking to me about RuneScape, and you were talking about how stuff gets added to the game and how there's a vote. I was like, man, this is a really community-based game. I could never imagine trying to get a bunch of Street Fighter players together. Like, hey, so we think that Ryu's uppercut is too heavy, so we want to take it for whoa, calm down. Like, you can't get a community like that to sit down. But I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's every bank in the game has a polling location. You stand at the polling location. You don't even have to go to the polling location anymore. They added it just to your fucking inventory, not even inventory, but like your UI where you can click it and it pops up and you can do your votes. Yeah, the last vote for microtransactions, I think, were the most voted on poll of all time. We're on poll number 72 now, for example. And I think 150,000 people voted against microtransactions, with like 3,000 that voted for it. And there was a call from the community to find out who these 3,000 people were. We were going to vote them off the island.
Like, I want addresses. I want IP addresses. We need to get them out completely.
It wasn't like, hey, guys, we want to add a way to buy items in game. It was like, hey, you know, if a company comes to us and wants to potentially like sponsor a skin in the game, how would you guys be receptive to that? And everyone's like, fuck you. And yeah, I love the community for that, for sure.
Typing really fast, you mother.
Literally. Yeah, there's been a few things like this. With that being said, though, Twitch got a thing where you can make your character purple in game, because Twitch Prime did a thing with Jagex, and the community was so fucking mad, and that is why they have pulled future partnerships with companies, because they added that in without pulling it, and everyone's like, wait, you guys didn't pull this. What the fuck? And they got some negative feedback.
You know what? Your community reminds me of the Linux open source community in many, many ways. It's a dangerous place. Would you ever play a version of RuneScape where they decided to like reskin it, like same general principles, but they bring it up to date with modern day graphics, kind of like a new world? Would you play something like that?
Absolutely. There's already a mod for it. You can download a separate client that does RuneScape HD. I can send it to you. It's a very, very interesting video because it looks entirely different. And there has been rumors that they're going to update to like 2010 graphics, which I think is appropriate for the game. But a lot of the reason people love old school RuneScape because it has the old school feel, right? It has the feel of the game when you were playing it in 2005, when you were 13 years old and you're playing it for fucking, you know, in the kitchen on your family computer, right?
Yes.
And that's what a lot of people want still, and that's what we have. And if they never update the graphics, I'm fine with it. But if they do and give us the option to keep what we have or play on 2010 RuneScape's graphics, then I'm fine with that as well.
I got to tell you, man, whenever we get to the RuneScape talk, I just kind of sit back and let you go. Like, I do my interviewer thing where I just kind of draw, because each time the conversation, I draw a little bit more out of you, man. There's one thing I got to say. One, not even say it. Just RuneScape versus World of Warcraft. I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds to make the case for why RuneScape is a superior game. I think I know what you're going to say, but it seems like they're two obvious competitors. Go.
RuneScape has a clear linear progression system where World of Warcraft doesn't have that anymore. Done.
All right. Unpack that for us. Give it to me.
So WoW added these things years ago called heirlooms, where when you load in a brand new character, you could just go, okay, open up inventory, heirlooms, and then you don't have to get gear going forward until whatever level. You can level it up until max level, and then when you're at max, then you can get your gear for, you know, end game raids and such, right? Where RuneScape, it's like bronze, iron, steel, iron, black armor, mithril, adamant, rune, dragon, barrows, bandos, and then God Wars stuff, and then what they've added recently. Right. There is a clear path for what do I need to be using? What's the best equipment per dollar, and what is the best equipment for this thing that I'm going to be doing? And there is that now. There is that, and WoW doesn't have that.
All right. Well, that was clear and concise. You guys got a problem with it? You know where to find Zach. I'll send you his personal email address, and he's always willing to debate these things. I think I always tell myself that I want to try old school out, but it's the paid, you know, subscription thing. That's
you
obviously
don't have to pay to play it.
All right. And then there's also the thing of like, what if I get too into it, man? And then now I'm playing this instead of playing the games that I should be playing on my killer machine over here, the Sting, my top of the line Ryzen 5 2600.
Yeah, I mean, so you don't have to pay to play, right? There is a free version. You get about a third of the content, right? I think it's fair. You get about a third of the content that you do with the paid version. And my recommendation is, if you're a new RuneScape player, first of all, let us know down in the comments. I'd be happy to give you some pointers or give you a lifeline of answering questions, because there are some things that are confusing in RuneScape and where to go and when to be there. But my recommendation is always finish the free-to-play content first before you decide if you're going to go into the paid content, and that is always the best way to do it.
Honestly, I would like you guys to hit Zach up in the comment. Reach out to us. Get into the Discord. He does play actively. I'm sure he'll play games with you. I actually enjoyed your stream when you were doing the what was it for the tournament? And possibly the funniest stuff I've seen was your reaction to certain things going on in the game. What is this? Why isn't he moving? Why can't I move my character? What's going on? And I'm just like, this is the type of stuff I like to see. Also, one of my favorite episodes of American Dad, I'm pretty sure I know now, is based off of RuneScape. Have you ever seen the episode where Steve is playing a RuneScape-esque game, and they actually go into the game, and he's explaining why he loves the game so much?
I thought it was based on WoW.
Was it WoW? I assumed it was RuneScape because it has that same kind of herky-jerky type of like graphic to it, and he's basically like, often in the real world, things suck. But in this game, I get to be whoever I want to be. And I think that's why a game like RuneScape needs to exist. I think there's a lot of stuff coming at kids nowadays. RuneScape is a game I would let Gavin play if I wasn't worried about weirdos online. Like, if there was a way to shut all that stuff out,
I think it would be turn the chat off.
Gotta get him out of there. Gotta get him out of there. What are you looking up that episode right now?
Yeah, it's called Dungeons and Wagons, where Stan becomes a street racer and Jeff becomes an online gamer with Steve and his friends. But
amazing episode.
I'll have to watch it and tell you what game it's about.
I would really be interested to hear what you say.
2006, so it's probably World of Warcraft. This is when World of Warcraft was at its peak. Yeah. This is about the same time that the World of Warcraft South Park episode came out.
They're making a sequel to that movie, and people are not happy.
Warcraft?
Yeah.
Fuck those people.
Yeah, losers. And thank you for liking and subscribing.
Hey, you know what else is really going to be a big loser?
What's that?
The Amazon cloud gaming platform. Dude, who's asking for this shit?
I am secretly sending in letters. I'm doctoring numbers.
I love that they're like, dude, Stadia, doing great. Let's make Luna. It's like Amazon. Please shut the fuck up. Stop. No one is looking for this stuff. In my opinion. I don't know much about it yet. It's going to have a very interesting library of games from what I've seen. But that's pretty much about it. You know, $6 a month, something like that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it might be bundled into the Amazon Prime price. I hope it is.
Dude, if it's free, it's me, right? If they say you have Amazon Prime, you're good to go with this. Obviously, I'm going to try it out. I know who's asking for this. It's the people pushing it. Someone got it into their ear that people want streamable games. And it's just the fiction of it sounds a lot better than it actually is. Like in theory,
$6 a month. $6 a month.
$6 a month. Like in theory, when you look at the Stadia presentation and you see that, it's like, man, this is really amazing. You're telling me that I can play these games on my Galaxy Note 7. Let's use an older device that blew up in your pocket. And I can play this game and it's going to play perfectly because I have very good internet. There's not going to be the issues of overheating. The CPU is not going to fry out. You're saying that it's completely on your servers. In theory, it sounds amazing. The problem becomes an application, right? Sure. So you got to get everything ported over there. You got people who got to get developers who are willing to even design original games for this type of service. And then by the time the poor kid in Ohio gets it and he only gets 10 megabits down and he plays it for the first time.
And has a data cap.
And has a data cap. It turns into a horrible experience, right? And then you'd never get the things that were promised at release. So I don't know what Amazon is promising, but we know what Google promised, right? The remote was not Wi-Fi ready, right? Yeah. That was one of the major selling points, that there was not supposed to be any latency. I've done as much research on this Amazon clouding game, and I really do think this is corporations jumping into a space. Like, hey, Google's doing it. We should do something like that.
Here's the issue, right? Amazon owns Twitch. So they're already in this space. What's interesting is that Ubisoft is partnering with them, and Ubisoft you're gonna be able to pay an additional price and have access to any and every Ubisoft game, and when it comes out, immediately have it on your Amazon Luna. It's not a very good name. Not a very, very good name at all, in my opinion. But listen, I don't have much to say about it other than I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to do well off the start. It will eventually do very well, and I think this is the direction of where games are going, and gaming is going, and that's where it's going to end up eventually at some point. I think this is where it's going to end up. But Xbox will do it better, or PlayStation will do it better. And I don't. That's it. That's really all I have to say about it. I just thought it was funny.
So here's the thing. I just want to cap it off with one thing. So maybe Xbox would do it better, and maybe Sony would do it better. But then we just kind of go into a loop of where we've been experiencing before, right? So there was a time when consoles were considered to be better than, let's say, a gaming PC from my era, right? Before, let's say, before the WoW craze. Like, yes, your PS3 was probably better than your PC. In many different. I wouldn't say
PS3. That's
not PS3.
No,
PS2.
PS2.
Let's say PS2.
More useful for sure.
More useful for sure. But now we're in a place where it's like, why would I want to stream a game? Right? Why would I at this point, why would I decide to do that? I'm not begrudging anyone else for doing it, but at the same time, I'm going to miss owning physical disc. I can go on an entire tirade about ownership of property in regards to gaming and stuff like that, but no one's going to listen. No one cares. You know, do what's best for you, man. If this works for you, if it's convenient for you,
do your thing.
Do it. Do your thing. I changed my mind. Don't do your thing. Listen to me. Don't do this. You are single-handedly going to ruin your life. Don't do it.
It's a good point.
That's a bit ominous.
Very, very, very good point. I really don't have anything else to say about it. It's not out yet. You can request early access if you want to. Definitely do it.
Any promising features? Like, are they promising a remote or anything like that?
No, there's a controller, but so here. Okay, if you really want to get slightly more into it than we are already, Amazon is the premier hosting site, right? For servers and websites and such. So I'm pretty sure that it'll work better than Google's, but I still don't think it's going to be great. That's it. That's all I got.
That's all I got. You know what? You know who's not the only person that got all they got, but they got more than they deserved, and they're very happy about it? No, actually, that was a horrible transition. But Nickmercs got a 3-year extension, or signed a 3-year extension with FaZe Clan. Why did this make it into my topics list? Because one, I wanted to talk to you about it. Two, it looks like that Nick did kind of a lateral move and didn't opt for more money, speculation is, but he got something on the back end that's making him stay. I don't know a lot about esports contracts and all this type of stuff, but you seem to be a person that's been able to break this down for me before. Why would he do it? What do you think is motivating him to stay? because it's not. Everyone's reporting it's not the best deal that he could have got from what they know.
I don't know. I don't know why a lot of these big guys sign to an esports organization. I don't think it's the best move. I don't think it's in their best interest. Generally, say if you sign to FaZe, right, you have to align with FaZe's partnerships and sponsorships, right? So if FaZe is sponsored by G Fuel, you can't go out and get a Monster sponsorship, right? Even if Monster approaches you, because no, you're FaZe Nickmercs and not just Nickmercs, right? And I don't think that's very good. So I actually don't understand why these big guys sign these contracts. They're getting guaranteed money to promote a brand, so that's probably part of it. But Nickmercs is the biggest thing on fucking Twitch right now, or one of, right? XQC is the biggest on Twitch right now, and Nickmercs is probably top 10. But he doesn't need it, but he does. So here's what's better, right? He thinks he does, and then he does. So do your thing, Nickmercs. Congratulations on the 3-year extension. I don't quite understand it, but you're getting paid, so good for you.
I'm wondering if there's some type of option after this something they worked out after this 3-year extension where maybe there's some stock option.
Nope. Guarantee nope. There's already too many cooks in the kitchen over at FaZe. I don't know if you know the history of FaZe, but there's about 5 or 7 people who are owners at FaZe, right? And generally, if there's 5 or 7 people who are owners, someone is getting diluted out. And, if you add an 8th person to it, they're just diluting everyone's say or control in an organization even further. And, it's not a good look. So I don't know what or when or why or how Nickmercs does what he does, but he's super successful, and you can't deny that.
No, you can't deny it. And if you're getting guaranteed money on top of that, I'm a huge believer in income, like steady income, as long as it's not diminishing you or you're having to do something to devalue yourself. But that's the only way to keep your wealth, is to make sure you constantly have money coming in, or your money's growing in its own interest or something like that. But man, it's crazy to think that one day someone's going to want to sign us to some type of exclusive deal, and I am most assuredly going to screw that up in the meeting. When I say
no. I'm the meeting guy, believe it or not.
You're going to screw it up in the meeting.
No. I'm going to make sure it happens.
I actually, now that you pointed out, I think you are the guy that screws it up. You show up like, contract looks good. I'm like, all right, let's get ready to sign. You're like, yeah, I just noticed one thing. I specifically requested sandwiches when we arrived. I noticed there were croissants at the table. You're not taking this.
No, I wouldn't do that. But we would have lawyers for that, obviously, at that level. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. If you want to be a part of a team, and I totally respect that.
Get it.
Wanting to be a part of a team, I totally respect it. So I mean, it's good. I'm sure it's good for both parties.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because when I was doing promotion for the show, remember we were on the hike to 100, someone asked me, they were like, hey, are you using some type of bots to grow? I'm like, no, I'm just legitimately having conversations with people, asking them if they've subbed, if they like the content, and then, they give a sub if they liked it. But I did join that little continuum there, like that team of YouTube content creators.
That
and
all
I
think
remember
we have too long of content.
Yeah.
Those, it's a podcast.
Yeah, those jackasses. But at one point, I did realize that I was doing more for them than they were actually doing for me. Like, I was sharing their content on my Facebook, posting, hashtagging them and stuff like that. And I would just go check theirs to see if they're doing it. And I was like, you know what? I was warned about this type of behavior. I won't be participating anymore. I won't be participating with any of this stuff. And I think that's the dangerous thing with content creation in a team. But that's all I got on that, man.
That's it for me too. Is that it for the show? I don't think there was anything else.
No, but we got some stuff bubbling in the pot coming up here pretty soon. I've been testing my internet speeds. Got the hard wire, 150 feet. Okay. Made sure there's no crimp in the cable. Everything's looking good for the first live stream episode. Been generating some buzz talking about it.
Live streaming it though. I am. I don't know why you're prepping your internet as if you're doing anything.
Listen to me. Why'd you have to steal my moment?
You could do the stream. You're
Zach. I'm more than happy I tell you, listen. You don't use my listen on me. Listen is my.
I'm more than happy to let you figure out the stream section of it. And I'll sit here and record it like I always do. I'm fine with that.
No, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I mean, listen. Look me in the eyes for a second. You can't see. Look me in the eyes. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to move to this format, right? Because Zach's been with me the entire journey on this whole thing. I remember there was a time where I could not play the game and talk at the same time, or let alone breathe in the microphone. So I just a year of content creation.
Sure.
I feel like we've come pretty far, man. We've fought on the show. We fought other people together on the show.
We ganged up on the crazy.
We ganged up on the crazy, and I think this is going to be the next great step. I want to formally apologize for us not making the episode on Friday. I want to thank my co-host for always being a good spirit about that. And the show is called Talking with a Dad, but it's not called Talking with a Bum, so I'm not going to do it again unless I absolutely am strung out on heroin. But my counselors say I should be good, and hey, every day cleans another day alive. I feel good about this.
That's my tagline. That's going to be my superhero quote.
If you people don't know, right? I look at the analytics. Check us out on the website, Talking with a Dad. Go to the Facebook page, Talking with a Dad. You can reach out to us. You got content creation ideas. You want us to talk about something? Hit us up in the Discord. Comment below, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all our Anchors, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts listeners. You guys are there. We see you growing. Actually seeing a lot of growth over in that area, so we're very grateful for that.
Shout out audio listeners.
Audio listeners, you're killing it right now.
Yep.
Shout out to the YouTube viewers. We're not trying to lose you guys, but come on back.
Yeah, but you're just listen, YouTube audience. You're just not as good as the audio listeners right now, and I feel like you need to step it up.
You can also check us out on IG. And we don't have a WhatsApp page because we don't believe in that, man. I think that's a little bit too close to home, and no Telegram thing. I know there are people out there doing that, but you can reach us on any of those other platforms. Zach, you got anything else?
That's it, man. Everybody, have a good fucking night.
Good night.